Hello there everyone and welcome to Oversoul's Top 10 Games of 2021 Countdown List. As always, let's hit those rules real quick before we begin. Like usual, remasters, re-releases, and unfinished episodic games are not eligible. Also, while this list may contain some objective critiques, the list itself overall is subjective, so please be nice. Alright, now with all that being said, let's get started, shall we?
Over here.
House of Ashes is the third game in the Dark Pictures anthology. Following in the footsteps of its predecessors, this game has you controlling multiple different protagonists as they attempt to survive against giant bat demons in the underground catacombs of war-torn Iraq. Unlike previous games in the series, though, this game brings a few new things to the table. For one thing, it's more action-focused, but not so much that it takes away from the horror. Your characters are all experienced soldiers, but they don't come across as completely badass, unstoppable, and desensitized. They are still very human, with very human issues and very human fragility. Another new addition to this game is a difficulty option. The higher the difficulty, the harder the QuickTime events, and, if you are playing by yourself, the more hindering choices the AI-controlled characters will make, making getting everyone out alive a rather difficult task. Now, I will admit, the acting in this game isn't exactly anything to shake a stick at, but I feel like Supermassive purposely goes for campy and cliche, so I don't want to harp on that too much. But I will say that because this game takes place during the Iraqi war, there are some lines of dialogue that are actually rather thought-provoking and or heart-wrenching.
That woman had a family, friends. She had her whole life in front of her, and we snuffed it out with a single bullet. I mean, what the fuck?
For once, I feel like they figured out how to take characters that come across as less than tolerable in the beginning and find a way to redeem them in a meaningful way by the end. Overall, I had a lot more fun with this game than I did with Little Hope. I love the story direction, I love the character redemptions, and I love the ending. It truly felt like I was playing a movie directed by Ridley Scott at times. There was twists, there was turns, there was intense situations. After this, I cannot wait for the next and final entry in the first season of the Dark Pictures games. We all know that competitive multiplayer isn't usually my cup of tea, but every once in a while a game will come along that offers something so unique and appealing that it will actually break me out of that shell. This is one of those such cases. Welcome to Knockout City, a world where competitive dodgeball with power-ups is how you settle your differences. At its core, this is a competitive multiplayer live service game where you get into 3v3 matches and the goal is to knock the other players out with dodgeballs to rack up a high score. But that is grossly oversimplifying it. It's actually super chaotic, with Twisted Metal style power-ups that could be anything from turning your dodgeball into a football, giving you a multi-ball, or even throwing a giant 2-liter of soda at someone, because why not? Graphically, the game looks like Fortnite, but I think that's basically the new multiplayer game style. Mechanically, though, it plays in such a way that I find it accessible and appealing. It's a 50-50 balance between skill and chaos, like Mario Kart or Smash Bros. There's also something really satisfying about catching the ball an enemy throws at you and then beaming him in the back of the head with it. I can't say a whole lot about this game because there's not a whole lot to say, but if a multiplayer-only game can make it to my top 10 list, then it must be doing something right. I look forward to what content they add in the upcoming seasons.
Blue team wins!
There have been so many Mario Party games throughout the years, but my nostalgia always reverts back to Mario Party 2 being my favorite. That was until now. Enter Mario Party Superstars, the one Mario Party to rule them all. This game takes all of the best elements from all of the numbered titles in the series and combines them together into one giant celebration game, featuring the most famous boards from the N64 games and the most famous mini-games from the entire franchise, but especially the N64 and GameCube games. This Mario Party game does basically everything right. Old boards from old games are remastered in a meaningful way. Same goes for the mini-games. Motion controls are completely absent. Every board plays up the rules a little bit differently, but the idea is still the same. Be the one with the most stars.
You got a star!
There is none of that driving in the same car crap from 9 and 10. None of that mini-stars crap from 8, 9, and 10. It's just good old-fashioned screw your friends over Mario Party. Normally with a Mario Party game, after I unlock everything, I put it down, but this game has no unlockables, and yet I keep finding myself going back to it at least a couple times a week just for fun. The only thing that could have made it better is if they included the character-specific dice from Super Mario Party, but unfortunately you can't always have your Peach's birthday cake and eat it too.
Finish! Winner!
Probably been a long time since you've had a visitor. I hope you don't mind pop-ins.
Picking up right where the PlayStation VR exclusive game Rhombus of Ruin left off, the Xbox exclusive game Psychonauts 2 sees our group of heroes from the first game bringing an unconscious Truman Zamato to the Psychonauts headquarters while simultaneously infiltrating the mind of Dr. Lobato to figure out how to fix Truman's broken state of consciousness. Due to the set of circumstances being dire, Raz has now been promoted to a full Psychonaut, but he's going to have to face all kinds of serious obstacles in order to prove himself, including being teased by bullies, his newfound relationship with Lily, a musical performance with Jack Black, and the potential return of one of the most evil beings in Psychonaut history. This game will feel super familiar if you have played the first Psychonauts, which can be both good and bad. It is a very fun game, but sometimes the gameplay feels a little bit dated. That being said, though, this game has a lot to offer in terms of narrative, with some very thought-provoking concepts. Much like the first game, you end up diving into the minds of multiple characters, navigating through their thoughts, worries, anxieties, and emotions, sometimes represented by enemies. For example, we have a flying mosquito carrying a giant weight to represent grief, because grief weighs you down. Where this game really stands out to me, though, besides representing these things with enemies, is that it actually tackles genuine mental health issues through the characters. One of the most clever mechanics, in my opinion, is the ability to change someone's chain of thought so that their association with a certain topic changes from positive to negative, or vice versa.
Good luck collecting your debts after I'm dead.
You actually do this at one point in order to move the story forward and end up changing someone's entire psyche as a result. It's invasive and controversial, and they don't just let it slide by without consequences, and I love that. Overall, even though the game doesn't break new ground in terms of gameplay or mechanics or even innovation, I feel like it has something important to say about mental health. And in general, it's just a fun and entertaining good time. If you're familiar with the works of Tim Schafer, then you know what you're getting into.
Senses are the magic keys. They fill the holes I've had, unlocking all my memories. words are never, never.
Never in my life did I think I would actually like a Forza game. I'm not big into sports games, but the exception I will make is for racing. But even there have to be specific caveats. But Forza Horizon 5 is not just a racing game. It's an open-world racing game with accessibility options out the wazoo. With options ranging from sign language for the deaf, brake assisting, very specific vehicle tuning, the ability to rewind time if you crash, and more, this is a game that literally anyone could play whether they are good at racing games or not. The game even tells you which car you should take into each race based off terrain and the car's stats. You get to create a custom character, and you can even select a name or nickname for them from a predetermined list of names, and the game will actually refer to your character vocally by the name you have chosen.
Hey Justin, I know you're busy, but I have festival facilities way over capacity.
After finishing the game's prologue, you hit the open world, and from there you can drive to any race or event that you want. And after winning enough of them, you unlock more of the map, where you can set up different home bases and participate in even more races, varying between cross-country, circuit race, off-road race, etc. If you are playing online, you will actually see other players driving around the open world as well, and be able to challenge them to one-on-one races. If you are playing offline, those real players will be replaced by AI-controlled drivatars wearing the names of people from your friends list. The game even has story driving moments where an NPC will join you as you drive them to the next destination, and it definitely has Far Cry or Assassin's Creed vibes in that aspect. Overall, I would consider this game the biggest surprise addition to my list this year. Not something I ever thought would be my cup of tea, and yet here it sits at number 6. So much fun. It's just not an Oversoul Gaming top 10 list without an obscure indie game. Meet Francis Vendetti, the nephew of a famous folk musician John Vendetti, from a small town in the mountains called Calypso. Being a small town, everybody knows each other, and Francis is expected to follow in the footsteps of and live up to the legacy of his uncle. Unfortunately, that's not what is in his heart. Francis wants to play cosmic rock, space operas, trippy electronic shreds. Well, one fateful day, a chance encounter with a strange girl followed by an alien invasion grants him the wish that he has been so dreaming for. Now, Francis is traveling through the cosmos, the cosmic expanse, making his name and music known across the galaxy. I really love this game for multiple reasons. For one thing, the art style. It's so simplistic yet so beautiful and psychedelic. Truly something that would make Pink Floyd jealous. Also, although the gameplay focuses on moving from the left of the screen to the right while shredding your guitar and interacting with the environment, Where the gameplay really stands out is the boss battles, which are basically a Simon Says rhythm game where you have to match what your competition plays note for note using the face and shoulder buttons on the controller. Although the events of this game may or may not be a dream or a drug trip, I feel like it resonates with me on a spiritual level, because it's a story about breaking out of your shell, self-discovery, and not being afraid to be who you really are. And I feel like I went on a similar journey this year, so for that reason, this game really speaks to me.
I had a speech prepared, but considering that our event seems to be under assault, I will cut to the chase. Ratchet, I do not know where I would be without you. You are my closest friend, my teammate, and you have given up a lot to... I have repaired the Dimensionator, so you can travel through dimensions and find your family.
Yo, pal, What? Dr. Nefarious?
Ratchet and Clank! What a wonderful surprise! I didn't expect to see you here. Considering my goons were meant to annihilate you 8 minutes ago!
It has been 8 years since the last main entry in the Ratchet and Clank franchise. Although there was a reboot of the first game back in 2016, it's considered non-canonical. This game follows directly on the heels of Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus, which was a PS3 game in 2013. Clank has been working tirelessly on fixing the Dimensionator after the events of Into the Nexus, so that Ratchet will have a chance to see his Lombax comrades again. Unfortunately, during the special ceremony where Clank was supposed to surprise him with it, the evil Dr. Nefarious shows up once again to ruin everyone's day. Only this time, his actions affect the entire multiverse.
Can't anyone print instruction manuals anymore?
Now, Ratchet and Clank have been separated and have to team up with alternate reality versions of themselves to take down not one, but 2 Dr. Nefariouses, and save the entire multiverse from destruction and chaos. Following the classic Ratchet and Clank formula, you will travel from planet to planet, completing missions and doing side quests, unlocking new weapons and new abilities on your way to your ultimate goal of saving the universe. Only this time, you get to play as 2 characters, Ratchet and his female counterpart Rivet. Along the way, you will meet multiple alternate dimension versions of familiar faces from the previous games, and shenanigans will ensue. Most of your favorite weapons are back as well, along with a few additions and a few replacements, like Mr. Zircon being replaced by Mr. Fun Guy, but the same purpose being served. The game is absolutely beautiful graphically as well. It definitely shows what we can accomplish with this new generation of consoles. To me, it looks like a Pixar movie, and those movies cost about $200 to $300 per second of unique animation to make, so the budget for this had to be ridiculous. Ratchet and Clank has always been my favorite of the 3 PS2 mascots, and almost every game they put out is an absolute banger, and this one is no exception. From the Pixar-level graphics, to the relationships between the characters, to the Easter eggs and nods to other PlayStation franchises, this is a brilliant game for fans of Ratchet and Clank and 3D platformers in general. I simply cannot wait to see what the future of this franchise holds.
I guess we better get started then. I'm glad you're okay, buddy.
You too, Ratchet.
Be careful out there. Wow. Another Lombax.
Dr. Hakim, you have to help me now. They have to stay together. Look, it says here, love is work, see? You have to work on it. You can't just give up. Mom, Dad, I wish you could be friends again.
From the developers of A Way Out comes a co-op focused adventure about working together and rekindling lost love. Cody and May are a disgruntled couple on the verge of divorce, but after witnessing their latest dispute, their daughter makes a wish on a pair of dolls that transcends them into a journey that they will never forget. Now, having inhabited the bodies of the dolls, the two must work together to travel through an alternate reality version of their own home while being the size of a field mouse. The whole time being guided by an annoying but well-meaning therapy book.
Your daughter purchased me. She was lucky. I was the last copy because I was selling the best. I've kept millions of couples and now I will help you too.
This game is basically a love letter to many games that came before it, and it wears its influences heavily on its sleeve. It's a traditional 3D platformer with varying stages and a boss at the end of each one. What makes this game special is the fact that you have to play it with someone else. Many of the puzzles and platforming and even combat require both characters to play their role correctly in order to move on. One cannot survive without the other. This game plays a lot of the same beats as its predecessor, but I think it does it in an overall better and more accessible fashion. Special shout out to the snow level because that ice skating is fluid. This game is an absolute must-play. It's fun, it's quirky, at times it's surprisingly dark, but in the end it has something to say about forgiveness and embracing your flaws as well as your talents.
No, no way. I can't believe you're doing this again.
Come on.
Do you have any idea how much time I've put into this? You just... No, dude, I can't come over there. I'm working.
Out of all the games in the Life is Strange franchise, this one is by far my favorite so far. It has the most relatable protagonist for me personally. Her name is Alex, and she is an empath.
When you said that you had a nice place, I was picturing small but homey.
Moving back to your hometown after being away for a long time is never easy, but for Alex, it gets even worse when her arrival is immediately muddied by love triangle conflicts and a terrible accident. Now, as one thing leads to another, something bigger and more sinister seems to be going on, and Alex is determined to get to the bottom of it, no matter the cost. Although exaggerated into supernatural fashion for the sake of storytelling, her ability to really pick up on the emotions of others really resonated with me. She can see auras around people indicating what they are feeling and even influence the emotions of others or take their feelings on as her own. The choices you make and the emotions you play with will determine your relationship with the other characters, and how the game ends is ultimately up to you, but what really matters is the relationships that you have built along the way, and where they stand with you when it really counts. It's a visually beautiful game with a well-told and thought-provoking, emotional narrative. There's even a chapter dedicated to LARPing, where combat plays out like a turn-based RPG.
Shield of Courage!
2 damage.
The developers really did themselves a favor by releasing all 5 episodes in one game this time. This game will make you smile, this game will make you cry, but by the end of it, if you walk away having felt something, then it did its job.
In a beautiful world, I wish I was special. You're so very special. But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here.
My true Yarans, I stand before you armed with truth. For too long, our country was stolen by politicians. But you elected a vision, a cure, a road to paradise. Viviro, created by our own brilliant scientists. The most effective treatment for cancer the world has ever seen. Grown within our precious tobacco. Modified with the purest fertilizer, Viviro is the key to rebuild paradise. But our paradise comes at a cost. This our enemies will never understand. Yara did not elect me to do what's easy, but to do what's right.
Alright, look. We all know I love to play video games for their stories, so I think sometimes people are surprised when my game of the year is not something that is heavy on the emotional, heart-wrenching narrative. However, at the end of the day, when I think about my game of the year, I really think to myself, which game did I have the most fun playing this year? Hence, Far Cry 6. A ruthless dictator, brilliantly played by Giancarlo Esposito, has taken over the land and is raising his son to be a tyrant as well. But his son doesn't seem to be digging the idea of murdering innocents and ruling with an iron fist. However, his acts of sympathy end up getting a bunch of refugees killed, and that's where you come in. As the only survivor of a brutal attack on a refugee ship, you are now a guerrilla, a member of the Libertad, a group of rebels hell-bent on taking down Castillo. In traditional Far Cry fashion, you will go from ally to ally, completing quests, unlocking new weapons, and one by one, taking different targets off the map as you work your way up to the big bad. The gameplay is everything I loved about Far Cry 5, but better. Animal companions are back in the form of a crocodile, a cute little doggy, and many more. There is a Assassin's Creed notoriety system now that makes the game feel like GTA sometimes. Kill enough soldiers and eventually rocket launchers and helicopters will start coming after you. Nothing you can't handle with the right side of weapons, however. You can take down enemy checkpoints so you aren't hindered when driving. You can take down anti-air guns so you aren't hindered when flying. And you can just straight up murder a whole base of enemies and take it over. And the whole time you run a 50-50 chance of being randomly murdered by a genetically enhanced rooster. Many of the mechanics of this game, like most Ubisoft games, can be a double-edged sword in some ways, but I find this game highly addicting, visually pleasant to look at, well acted, and just so much fun. It's just pure fun! I find myself just wanting to do everything on the map in this game. It feels rewarding, and although the game does have microtransactions, they are not invasive. And there's no stonewalling tactics either. Ubisoft might have a few smudges on their name, but this game is genuinely good, and I think they're starting to learn from their mistakes. A little.
Crook! Shit!
And there you have it, my top 10 games of 2021. What did you think of the list? What were your favorite games of the year? Let me know in the comments down below. And remember, just because a game didn't make my list doesn't mean I didn't like it. The other 15 nominees are basically honorable mentions. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for the announcement of who won my contest in a video tomorrow if you are watching this on the day it was uploaded. Thanks for watching, and have a great new year.